The US has joined the United Nations in warning Israel that its agreement to allow 2 fuel tankers a day into Gaza doesn't go far enough. They say more is needed to avert a humanitarian crisis. Israel says it is taking action so that power can be restored to essential services such as water pumps, the sewage system and communications. Israel's bombardment of Gaza has continued with a Hamas-controlled health ministry saying at least 26 people have been killed in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Our correspondent Tom Bateman has more.
Palestinians wait, desperate for bread. The UN says people are facing the immediate possibility of starvation after the supply chain for aid collapsed due to the lack of fuel. Bakeries and wheat mills have been cut off from power. The delivery of fuel is the most critical need for the people of Gaza. The humanitarian crisis has deepened amid Israel's near total siege. Now, it says, under US pressure, it will allow in 2 trucks of fuel per day. But aid agencies say that's still nowhere near enough. The international pressure is growing to get aid in. The situation is most dire in the north with a critical lack of food and clean water. The risk of disease is increasing, say aid groups. The UN's human rights chief has said that the fighting must halt.
These repeated calls by the global community must not be ignored, but implemented at once. There must be a ceasefire on humanitarian and human rights grounds and an end to the fighting, not only to deliver urgently needed food and provide meaningful humanitarian assistance, but also to create space for a path out of this horror.
Meanwhile, there are growing worries about the potential for a total security collapse in Gaza, with few signs of a plan after the fighting. The US says it doesn't want Israeli boots on the ground in the long term.
There may have to be a transitional period where their security is provided for Gaza. That's something that we have to look at. But when it comes to the future of Gaza, in our judgment, it has to be under Palestinian governance.
Meanwhile, in Israel, families continued their march from Tel Aviv, demanding the return of nearly 240 hostages held by Hamas. Their destination is the office in Jerusalem of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
7 of my family members are kidnapped in Gaza. My mother, my sister's husband and their children, who are 8 and 3 years old. A 3-year-old girl is in Gaza. My aunt and cousin who is 12. How can you put a price on a 3-year-old girl? We need them back now at any price.
Israeli airstrikes continue to pound Gaza, both in the north, where Israeli troops are on the ground, and in the south, which was supposed to be safer for residents. The staggering number of civilian deaths in Gaza continues to rise, with many remaining trapped under the rubble. Meanwhile, sporadic rocket fire from Gaza continued into Israel, with no reports of fatalities. 6 weeks on from the attacks by Hamas that sparked this war, no end is in sight to the fighting. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Jerusalem.